All right, everybody. Welcome to episode 87 of This Week in Grip. It's just James and myself today. Jedd is out of town with his family for the weekend. So the plan is for us to get right into it and discuss the results of the Canadian National Championship and talk about a few feats in the end. So
Absolutely.
So how's everything been going for you, James?
Good, man. We had a really great training session here yesterday. Scott Johnson had come down from the Statesville area. We had Anthony Vasaturo drive up from South Carolina. This guy Wayne Taylor, who I worked with in one of the Jujimufu videos, he came by. He's a Highland Games athlete. And then we had the usual cast of characters. We had Bob and Jason and Gary, and so it was a really, really great session we had yesterday. We all we hit some PRs and we like I told you earlier, we dined on chicken marsala, which was wonderful, and my house is covered in chalk. Like
nice.
I said, it looks like they filmed the moon landing in my home. So
yep. No, it's awesome you guys are able to.
Today.
Yeah, it's awesome you guys are able to get together and do something like that.
Oh yeah, man, it was great. And this weekend is my birthday and Jason Otto's birthday, so it just works out really well. That we had both of them fall on a weekend like this. So that's good. It's always good to get together with the guys and share some birthday moments with one another.
Sure. Well, I hadn't seen his notification come through on Facebook yet, but happy birthday to both of you guys. So.
Well, thank you much.
Getting another one in the books.
Another one in the books. So. Getting older, getting stronger.
Yes, I tell you, it gets rougher. Once you get into the 40s, it kind of changes things. So.
Yeah, well, my goal, the ultimate goal, we had a chat about goals before, but the ultimate goal is being as strong at 50 or stronger than I was at 40. Because at 40, I was stronger than I was at 30. So.
Sure. Yeah. That's how mine started too. And nowadays I'm trying to think, especially a lot more towards longevity and figuring out how to do things and playing around with a little bit more scheduled deload type things to try to stretch some of that stuff out. That's been a huge downfall of mine in the past. So gotta change our tactics a bit, but hopefully it pays off anyway.
We have to be more patient.
Yep. So did Sean Kapusta make it down at all?
No, Sean didn't make it down. I actually thought he was coming, but he came down to train with us last week. So
Okay.
Yeah, he tries to come every other week.
Oh, sure.
Sure. It's a 2.5-hour drive for him. So.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize it was that far. So.
Yeah, he's up in Raleigh area. So.
That's a bit of a commitment. Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Cool.
So how are things on your end, Alan? What have you been up to? How's your training been going? How are your shoulders healing up?
The shoulders coming around. It's still a little slow. Getting a lot more range of motion. Starting some really light strengthening type things, with some really flimsy bands, but heading in the right direction anyway. So training's kind of weird because I'm only able to do things with my right hand right now, and that's notoriously been my weak hand. So it's kind of hard to measure progress almost on that one. I got to take things easy still yet, but at least it's consistent, and nothing hurts that shouldn't at this point. So hopefully heading in the right way. So
there's this great arm wrestler named Bob Brown who's been around for decades and decades, who once said, the important thing is that you continue to train while you're injured. You do whatever you can do. You work on whatever you're capable of working on. In times when other things are sort of on the shelf. So you're doing it right.
Yeah. Yep. No, I think that's really important. It kind of keeps things going. So. Yeah, it keeps me from going nuts. If I couldn't do anything at all, that would just be terrible. Staring at the TV all day or whatever. So, keeps my sanity. So, well, on the subject of that, I saw Ches just had his surgery. I still hadn't heard what his specific injury was, but once again, Ches, heal up quick. and I hope you bounce right back and get back to where you were heading before.
Absolutely.
So good luck.
I have no question that he will.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Nope. He's dealt with it before, so I think he's got a method to get there anyway. So.
Yeah. So hey, did you notice how many people showed up at the Canadian Nationals yesterday?
It looks like there was quite a turnout.
Yeah.
Boy, if I'm looking at this right, what do you have, 19 people?
Yeah, 19 people, at least in the overall event. Yeah, and some of the weight classes were really stacked. The numbers were great. Specifically, I was looking at some of the flash numbers, and you had several people. You had a few people, 5 or 6 people, 5 people, over 194, with Eric Rusin topping out at 216, over 216, almost 217 pounds, and Rob McMurrin was also over 205. Dan Fleming pulled 194.84. He tied with Justin Major, and that's those are some big time flash numbers, I think, for an event like that.
I was really glad. I had wondered what Dan Fleming had actually been up to these days, because he used to be really active on like Instagram and stuff, and he kind of dropped off for a while there, and I didn't know if he'd stepped away from grep, but he's posted some things recently, but he showed up here and did not disappoint, that's for sure.
No, and the thing about Dan, too, is like for a while there, he wasn't coming up in my Instagram feed. And then one day I went over, because I was like, where's Dan Fleming been? So I went over to his page, and he had posted a couple of really impressive feats, as always, but for some reason, like when I would go onto my Instagram feed and I would scroll through, I wouldn't see him. So, but Dan had a pretty major day.
Yeah, he did.
Did you see the events they had too?
Yeah, they always have a pretty stacked card with the amount of events they do, it seems like.
Yeah.
So, quite the variety, actually.
Yeah, they had a couple of thick bar events. They had the 2 3/8 inch Napalm's Nightmare. That's a serious thick bar event, to go through with several lifts and then to have the wrist wrench on top of that. I know there were some fried forearms afterwards.
Oh, there must have been, yeah, especially looking at you take a look at some of those wrist wrench numbers the guys hit. Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't see which order some of these had been. I'm assuming it follows through on the thread. Maybe we should just go down line by line on some of these.
The wrist wrench numbers that I see, you had Eric Rusin and you had Justin Major both pulling 117.68 pounds on the wrist wrench. Dan Fleming had pulled 106.66. Yves Gravel was 101.15, and he was tied with Jeff Slater, who, if you don't know Jeff's an arm wrestler too, and Matt Smith. And then Rob McMurrin had pulled 95.64, and he had tied with Andrew Dubé and, Jean-Philippe Poitras. I probably got that wrong. But they were at 95.64, so some really big wrist wrench numbers there too. I mean, 100, anything over 100 is, for me is like, that's my goal right now, right, is to hit 100. So anything over 100 is pretty amazing. When you're talking 117.68 like Eric and Justin had, I mean, gosh, that's some serious wrist strength right there.
That is, yeah, that is absolutely insane. And the previous thought, and we'll probably get into this a little later, but I think Bob Sundin used to mention that, I think he thought 100 pounds on the wrist wrench was sort of equivalent to an inch dumbbell lift.
Yeah. And that's one that stuck in my mind. Yeah, training it, sure.
Yep. Which we saw kind of at least happen with one of the competitors, that Yves Gravel had that monstrous inch lift post competition.
Did you see his body weight?
145 pounds. That is absolutely. Gosh. That's ridiculous. Yeah.
And sub 7.5 inch hands.
Yes. That's That's some serious grip
that's
power.
An amazing feat. Yeah, I've seen in terms of
Absolutely.
bar strength. Yeah.
And I can't think of anybody that's ever lifted that at a lighter body weight. Oh.
No, I mean Bruce White was pretty light though, right? Wasn't he 145 or 150?
Boy, I'm not even sure.
Yeah.
But it's
incredible. Well, go ahead.
No, it's just, for me, that's incredibly impressive, because when I think of a person that's 145 pounds with 7.5-inch hands, that means it can be done, you know.
Yeah.
And it's not something, because that's a normal human being. That's not some 300-pound dude with 8.5-inch hands lifting it.
Yep.
You know, this is something. It makes it attainable even that much more suddenly. You know, which is the right training and you know, I mean, there's not a lot of genetic thing going on there at that point. You know. So that's great. Yep.
Yeah, I mean that's just and the other thing I was thinking about, like, if he did that feat, and I didn't see whether it was before or after the event, if he lifted that up after the event, after pulling, you know, all those attempts on wrist wrench, and after pulling all those attempts on 2 3/8 Napalm's Nightmare, which, you know, by the way, on that he finished pretty high too. I mean, on the Napalm's Nightmare, I'm trying to think where he was. Let me try to bring that up really quick.
He was at 388.74 on that.
Yeah, which is I mean, that's a 2 3/8. I mean, that's not a 2-inch one. So if he had done all of those attempts on those 2 thick bar implements, and then at the end of the day picked up the inch, man, that's a hell of a day.
Yeah. Yep. Well, even on the flip side, supposing he pulled the inch right out of the gate, he still went in and kicked ass in the competition. You know,
exactly.
taking fourth in the overall.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's impressive that, and then I think in the medley he had like 30. Yeah, he had 34 items out of 40 in the medley, which tied him for third. So, yeah. You know, I mean, that's a 145-pound guy, you know, in a medley with, you know, obviously some giants. I mean, the only guys that finished ahead of him were Eric Rusin and Justin Major. So, you know, and Eric had 39 of the 40, so I don't know what the heck the 40th one was. But
yeah,
if there was an item that Eric missed, you know what I mean?
Right.
Medley. Yeah. And medleys tend to be geared towards those bigger-handed guys too. So you know, because there's lots of blobs and stuff like that in them, and wider pinch things. So for him to pull 34 out of the 40 items in the medley, I mean, lift the inch, pull over 101 on the wrist wrench, and then, you know, have that obnoxious number at on the 2 3/8 Napalm Nightmare. I mean, that's just like, that's a day. That's an incredible day. So
yeah, yep. So
yeah. So did you want to go over the results of some of the other things?
Yeah. Why don't we do a rundown? I guess we'd start at it looks like the class size, at least as we've seen it here, it looks like there must have been, I don't know how many class sizes he offered. Maybe he didn't have many much lighter competitors, but it looks like we had 83K, 105, 105 plus. Mm-hmm. There was a women's open and then a men's 50 plus division by the looks of it.
Yep.
All right.
And
let's
well, go ahead.
Maybe we should start with the 83 kilogram class and then work our way down through the individual events.
Yeah, I see at 83 kilograms. I mean, no surprise, but Dan Fleming had edged out Yves Gravel by 3 points. So Dan in first, and then Yves in second. Do you want to take a shot at this one, or do you want me to give you my best French?
I'll
number 3.
I'm gonna be way off. I will sure give it a shot though. But as usual, to anybody listening, if I have bastardized your name, I do apologize. Somebody please set me straight, either in the YouTube comments or however you prefer. I would go with Simon Pierre Desjardins? What do you think?
See, I mean, maybe he can correct us on this, but I was thinking Simon Pierre Desjardins.
I like yours better.
Yeah, right. I mean, I feel like I could be, sitting at a cafe in Paris with my pinky finger out, holding a very tiny cup of espresso, and a very thin cigarette hanging out of my lip.
Yep. I'm horrible at this. I've reached out to some people privately before, like Jerome Bloom, asking, his pronunciation, especially people that frequent our conversations so much. I hate to keep saying the wrong thing over and over again. So, yeah, it's embarrassing.
Well, I mean, I'm used to it. You announce as many events as I've announced. You have people who come up to the scorer's table or come up to your booth and they're like, "No, it's this." And then you're like, okay, and you try to correct it, and then you're still saying it wrong, and they're giving you dirty looks in the audience. And then at some point you just give up and you just try to have fun with it, Yep. So definitely no harm intended to Simon.
Right.
Looks like he had a very good day. And then in fourth place, Philippe Tremblay. Sixth place, Mike Dreeman, I'm not sure which. Sixth place, Dion Keller. Seventh place, Keith Stephenson, and then in the eighth place, Matt Smith. So that's a pretty big weight class.
Yeah. I'd be curious where some of these people, we know Yves Gravel was quite light for that class, so I'd be curious where some of the others fell in too.
Yeah.
But
and another thing to note too about Yves Gravel before we get off the Yves Gravel train, he pulled 73.5 pounds on the Iron Mine hub. So.
Well, I was scrolling through that, and that is there was a couple of solid hub lifts in there. So,
yeah, crazy
yeah,
stuff.
Really impressive.
He ended up in second place in the hub because Mark Lucina had pulled 77.95 pounds. So big hub lifts, and actually, what's that?
No, that's amazing. That's absolutely amazing.
I was going down the list and trying to figure out where I would fall, in the hub.
Oh, sure.
And I'm looking at it and I'm like, I'd be like way down near the bottom. Like, I mean, I don't know. It's Canada. Maybe they coat the thing with maple syrup. I don't know. But yeah, I'm looking at some of those numbers and I'm like, no, wow, that's pretty crazy. Some of those hub numbers. Obviously, we talked about Mark Lucina and Yves Gravel, but Justin Major, Dan Fleming, and Nick Carignan, as well as Jeff Slater and Mike Dreeman, all pulled 64.73 pounds, and Eric Rusin he was in eighth place in this event, even though he won the overall with 60.32 pounds. So pretty crazy stuff. Eric also topped out the 105 kilogram class, followed by Rob McMurrin, Mark Lucina, and in fourth place. And I don't know if I've met Andrew, so I don't know if I get Andrew's name right or wrong, but is it Andrew Dubé?
I've pronounced it that way, but I actually thought it was Dube, and I thought it was Dube because it's the Dube Cube. I made that connection like that. Now, I might be way out in left field, and once again, set me straight. But at least it makes sense in my mind anyway.
So did you want to take a shot at fifth place there?
I'm going to do it to me again.
No, I'll do it.
Okay, you go ahead.
I have to get my espresso.
Get your finger up. Yep.
It's Jean-Philippe Poitras.
That sounds good. I like that.
You like that? He's probably
that works.
Like, what is this guy talking about? It's John Philip Poitras or something. You know what I mean? But he ended up in fifth. And then another name that I know from arm wrestling as well, Rick Blanchard, finished sixth. So that was the 105 kilogram class. And then in the big boy class, you had Justin Major in first place, Nick Carignan in second, Jeff Slater, a arm wrestler right there in third. And another guy who I know from arm wrestling from years ago, Gus Bush, in fourth place at 105 kilograms. Have you ever shook Gus Bush's hand?
I believe so. He was at SJ4, and I remember meeting him. Yes, that was a while ago.
Yeah. His hand feels like a cinder block.
Yeah.
He's got all the... What's that?
He's a strong dude, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, he's getting to be an older fellow, but I mean, his strength's hanging right in there, lifting a lot of things that a lot of the younger guys aren't. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And then you had one female competitor. It was Natasha Batt, and so obviously she took first place in the Women's Open. So did you want to get to the specific events there?
Yeah, let's jump in, I guess. All right, so for the two-hand flask event, it looks like Eric Hussein hit first. It was 216.89 pounds, so that's a big lift.
It is.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, Rob McMurrin got second, 205.87 pounds. Looks like Dan Fleming, Justin Major, and Nick Carignan all tied for third with 194.84 pounds. Boy, okay. So sixth place was, I'll just go with Simon Pierre. Hopefully everybody just remembers that name at this point. 172.8 pounds. Yep, and that was a two-way tie between he and Andrew Dube. Looks like we had two eighth-place ties, Mike Dryman and Mark Lucina at 161.77. And then a number of ties for 10th. What is that, 4? You got Yves Gravel, Rick Blanchard, Jean-Philippe, and Gus Bush at 150.75 pounds. I wonder what kind of jumps there were in between these. If he was sticking with about a 2.5 kilo jump, that's almost how it looks as I'm looking at this listing here.
Yeah, it does because of all of the ties too. Because that can be a big jump. I mean, what is that, about 5.5 pounds?
Yeah, It kind of follows suit. Otherwise, it looks more like in the maybe near 5 kilos on some of them too. So he's doing. It doesn't look like a lot of micro loading was going on here at this competition. So probably wouldn't have been able to keep it moving along at a decent pace. Yeah.
I'm looking at the weights on this, and I'm thinking, if Yves Gravel pulls it's almost like he pulled a number that might say that he's probably not so familiar with the flask. If you compare it to his numbers in the other events. And I think this is where Dan Fleming really got him for that weight class,
Oh, absolutely. Yep. And that looks like... What's that? Oh, I was just going to move on to the next one. But, yeah, you could tell there's a definite familiarity difference with some of these because there's a little bit of lopsidedness on some of the results on these things. So, But that's cool. You got the ones that people, train the most or maybe even like, and then they get to the ones that, they might not have the implement or it might not just be something that gets a lot of their attention. And that's where those big differences really jump out.
Yeah.
All right, so looks like a three-way tie for oh, wait a minute here. I skipped down and moving on to the next one here. Two-way tie for 14th. Keith Stephenson and Jeff Slater, 139.73 pounds. Three-way tie for 16th. Got Dion Keller and Philippe Tremblay and Matt Smith at 128.7. And then Natasha Batt, 106.66 pounds.
Yes.
So, those are good numbers, really good numbers. Yeah. I don't know that I've ever taken a two-hand pinch attempt on the flask, actually. But
I did it just because I wanted to. I did it years ago because it was like I wanted to. It was back when Gil. I'm sure he probably still does, but Gil had the leaderboard on his barrel strength system site, and I was like, I noticed no one had pulled 200 on the flask, and I think I worked up to about 208 two-handed, and then I haven't really tried too much two-hand flask since then, except at garage night at Nick Rosenthal's place around the Arnold Classic a couple of years ago. Chris Rice and I were pulling, 190 something on the two-hand flask that day. So, but yeah, those are some big numbers, especially that top 5 there. So, and Eric probably shouldn't be too surprised with Eric's number, but 216.89 is a humongous flask lift. So,
absolutely,
congratulations to Eric.
Yep.
And obviously, you see what he did on the Napalm's Nightmare.
Yes, that is awesome. 454.88 pounds. That is a beastly lift on that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I mean, I'm looking at Justin's number too, 432.83, and I'm thinking, that's got to be good enough on a 2 3/8 Nightmare to win most competitions, right? I mean, and it's 22 pounds behind Eric's, so I mean that's a 10-kilogram jump, so that's pretty amazing.
Yep. And Justin Major, he's a younger guy, isn't he? Early 20s, mid 20s, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know Justin's age, but he does look like a young fellow.
I thought he was a bit, so plenty of room to grow in grip sport. Assuming I believe he's an arm wrestler. Assuming he's something he wants to stick with. So lots of room for improvement there.
I think about that sometimes, and maybe we should dedicate a show to that. Some of the guys that we're seeing that are in like their late teens and early 20s to mid 20s, or they've been doing it for a while and they just hit 30 kind of thing. I mean, think of where the sport is going to grow in like 10 years from now. It'd be pretty cool maybe to do a show to really put a spotlight on those guys.
Well, it would be, yeah, because for me, this started way later in my life. If I had known about something, it didn't even exist back then, but if I had known about something like this when I was 16 or 17 and been able to stick with it through all these years, I mean, boy, that would have to pay dividends, Even if you put a pound or two on a lift a year, that would be huge right now,
Yeah, exactly.
And that's not unrealistic by any stretch. So, yep.
Yeah.
No, we'll see some huge numbers one day. I think a lot of our standing records will get crushed by some of these guys. So.
Yeah, and I don't know. I feel like that's part of the fun of it. It's like I think there's something to be said about somebody who can like graciously acknowledge someone else setting a record that they previously set, because I think a lot of times people have a problem with that. Like there's a certain level of ego that prevents them from acknowledging that what I mean, we're growing, we're evolving. People have more knowledge and different knowledge about training now, or they're starting to train earlier. I don't know about you, Alan, but a lot of what I heard playing sports growing up was if you lift, you'll become muscle bound, and it'll affect you athletically. And I know we had a conversation where you said your father didn't really encourage you athletically, but I don't know if you've ever heard those things, those old adages.
Well, we've heard a lot of that, and that even carries over to nowadays too. You'll see a lot of people not wanting to do some of the heavier lifting and things like that for fear it'll literally detract from athleticism. We've seen that, people thinking it'll make them bulky and and takes away from their actual real pursuits. I think that was one of Tanner Merkel's statements actually. He was trying to maintain a lighter weight for rock climbing purposes, or climbing in general purposes, I think probably.
Sure.
And, and he didn't want to necessarily, start lifting heavier or even gaining some of that weight that might go along with some of that for fear that it would affect that. And it looks like he's trended differently anyway. I'm glad to see that he did. But, a lot of people definitely share that belief. So personally, I wouldn't have a problem putting on a couple pounds if I thought it'd help out my lifts any.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think like, especially for me, like, arm wrestling, I mean, all you heard way back when was like, if you have muscle on your legs, run it off, get rid of it and keep your weight low, So I was, up until my like almost late 20s, I was cutting down to like 165 pounds all the time. And I do wonder, like, if I didn't try to maintain such low body fat for so long and try to keep my body weight down, and I just, went after just being the strongest athlete I could be, what would have been different? So.
Well, yeah, I caught it. No, I caught an interview. I think it was I don't know if it was with Dan Green and Dave Tate. It was one of those things that pops up on my YouTube once in a while. And Dan Green, he's got some monstrous deadlift. I don't know how much the guy pulls, but it's absolutely ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
And he remarked once that if he had always been worrying about keeping his weight down, and instead of his performance, that he just would have more or less not seen the growth that he had. He just would have been good at dieting more than anything, and that's not the direction he wanted to head with it. So
yeah,
I agree with some of those statements. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So did you want to read out the rest of the Napalm's Nightmare list? I mean, we were at third place, right? I think Yves Gravel.
Yeah. Yep. On to Yves Gravel. So 388.74. So that's huge. That's huge.
It is.
He was tied with Jeff Slade. I would really be curious if Yves Gravel, the thought with the Napalm's Nightmare is that handle size goes along fairly closely with a 2-inch Paulins axle lift. So
really?
This guy, that's what Luke Raymond has claimed. It's fairly similar. Even though there's a thread on the grip board, and I don't know how much research has been put into that, but I think it's what Luke had seen from various competitions, even some of those things I believe he runs with Jedd here and there at some of those arm wrestling events and stuff they go to. They'll have that little booth set up, and people come in and do that challenge stuff.
Yeah.
And that would put him on pace, to look at that at 2.5 times body weight axle. That's huge.
I mean,
we don't see that often, if ever. So maybe. Well, we'll probably see that out of Tanner one day, but otherwise maybe Andrew Derniat, right? But I don't know who else has pulled something like that off. So, that's huge. I'd like to see more of that.
No, I'm trying to think of what Bob pulled at Europa that year on 2-inch axle. He hates the two-hand DO axle lift, but I forgot what he pulled, but it was pretty close to twice his body weight. So, that's pretty crazy.
A double body weight is absolutely respectable on that. No two ways about it. No. Yeah.
Well, there's one of those things I'm never hitting. Just acknowledge that right now.
Yeah. Yep. That's my worst event to begin with, and double body weight. That'd be pretty top level for me if I never did something like that. So.
Well, I guess Yves Gravel would have to lift about 290-ish to be double body weight. And if he's pulling those numbers and he's pulling the inch off the floor, I think it's very believable that he's going 290 plus on axle, right?
Oh yeah, yep. No, I have no doubt. Yep. I just like to see him get one in his hands, and I think he'd be way up there for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So the rest of the Napalm's Nightmare list.
Yep, looks like Rob McMurrin and Nick Carignan tied at 5th with 344.65. Dan Fleming at 7th with 322.6 pounds. I want to come back to his lift there. Looks like a huge tie for 8th between Simon Pierre, Andrew Dubé, Dube. I'm going to say it differently every time, I guess. Mark Lucina, Jean-Philippe, Gus Bush, and Dion Keller, all with 300.55 pounds.
Yeah.
And in 14th, Rick Blanchard, Keith Stephenson, and Philippe Tremblay with 278.51. In 17th, Mike Dryman and Matt Smith, 256.46. And then Natasha Batt with 168.28.
Yeah. So you had mentioned Dan Fleming's lift?
Yeah, yep. When I look at that, I see his lift on the 2 3/8 inch Nightmare at that 322.6. But then we take a look later on at the wrist wrench, and how he outlifted Yves Gravel on that by about 5 pounds, but there was a big lag on the Nightmare by comparison. What was that, almost 60 pounds or so? You know,
Yeah.
I wonder if that isn't some difference in strength of just one hand. If he isn't almost overly strong on the one, or maybe he missed some later on attempts or something like that.
Well, it could be. I mean, I think a lot of what I see from Dan is a lot of, at least in the videos he posts, are a lot of one-handed lifts, which are, I mean, they're elite. His one-handed lifts are elite, but yeah, I think obviously, like, training for two-handed lifts it's different. I mean, I'm the first to admit my two-hand pinch is sad compared to when I'm able to pull one hand, with both hands off the ground. So
sure.
It's a different lift. Yeah.
Yep. No, I'm always looking for those trends in there and those differences, trying to make heads or tails of some of that stuff. You see guys super strong in certain areas, and then other things it doesn't seem to follow suit. Always trying to find the thing that carries over and what that step is, what makes somebody good at one thing and not so much at the other. So yeah, neat correlations.
Well, I'm sure
anyway.
There's definitely specific strengths. Like, Jedd had made the comment a couple of weeks ago about how you're when you're doing some of these two-hand lifts, you're getting further and further away, especially when you're locking them out. You're getting further and further away from testing the grip. You're testing, obviously other muscles in the chain. So yeah, I mean, there's some of that certainly comes into play. No question about it. Yeah. But yeah, I know we briefly went over the top end of the wrist wrench numbers, but 117.68 at the top there between Eric and Justin. I mean, wow.
Yeah, that's huge. Yep.
Yeah.
And that makes me wonder too. This type of thing. I see these numbers. Is this fourth attempt, or did they miss the 123? What are we looking at there? Because it's big, but were they going? Maybe they hop something more, because that's huge. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, look, getting something off the ground with the wrist wrench to me seems to be the hardest part. It's like that initial pull of gravity, and then when it's up, it's like, all I got to do is get it to lockout. But yeah, 117. I mean, the other thing I was wondering is I didn't see any video from the event, just a couple of comments and the results. When they test the wrist wrench, do they allow for a bent arm, or do they keep people straight? Did you notice anything about that?
No, I guess I thought a bent arm lift was allowed. No tilting of the apparatus, obviously, to my understanding, but I thought a bend at the elbow was acceptable.
Okay.
Maybe I'm wrong about that. That was one of the things that, most people agree that having a slightly bent arm actually it has an impact on your grip strength.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of people deliberately do that. For me, especially, like, if I'm trying, I know when I try to lift the wrist wrench, it seems like I'm inclined to curl things anyway. I'm not doing it on purpose. It's just it just happens. But some people they have that in their mind. They need to be doing that, and it seems to help them.
Yeah, and it's weird. It's like for me, at least for my own purposes, it seems like, because I don't grab the wrist wrench from a neutral grip, it gives me a really kind of strange bicep sensation that I don't like, especially since I train biceps very heavy, So I like to grab. What's that?
No, I know what you're talking about there. Yeah, you go ahead and finish. We'll circle back to that biceps thing.
No, so what I'll do is and plus it bothers me to turn my hand into a neutral grip anyway. It's like painful for me because I have that pronator drift with my hand. So
sure.
I like to grab it kind of overhand, with a straight arm and pull it that way. And I've made very steady gains in wrist wrench, but yeah, I mean, just the thought of some of those numbers, even with a bent arm, is pretty crazy.
Yep. No, with what you were saying, biceps wise, for me personally, I do my best pulling on thick bar actually with a neutral grip. But when I was, for my right shoulder and the tail end there, because I had, when I tore my labrum, it was the whole works that I tore, and I was dealing with a ton of biceps pain, and I couldn't do it from the neutral position anymore with my right hand. I had to go over, and it seemed like it shut off a bunch of that. when I was in the pronated grip. Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
there's definitely a lot to it there. Well, especially once you start bending your arm. I mean, you're really bringing things into play. But yeah, I definitely know what you're saying there. So a lot of individual preferences. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Got to figure out what works best.
Well, I found when I was doing like the time holds with the baby inch, the 135-pound bell, you know, I would do it with like a neutral grip and a slightly bent arm. And yeah, like the next day I'd have like a little strain in my bicep that I was not, I don't know, I wasn't liking too much.
Yeah, yep. No, that's some real anatomical difference there. Yep, it's huge what it does. Yep. No, I definitely want to stay away from that discomfort.
Exactly. I know that kind of discomfort. I know it's like not the kind that's good, and you know, I do have a few trolls out there on the internet rooting for me to blast a bicep, you know, to explode a distal bicep tendon. So yeah, I don't want to give those pricks the satisfaction. So
well, that's crazy. You know, I'm like anybody else. There's definitely people that I don't like out there, but I don't want to see these people suffer some sort of bodily harm, you know.
Yeah.
I'd rather them just disappear from social media, you know, exactly. So I don't have to look at them. Yep. Well, you know,
Alan, you're always going to be the villain in someone's story. So.
Oh yeah, yep, I know it.
So yeah, where did we leave off? We got off a little bit there.
Yeah, yep. We're talking about Eric Rusin and Justin Major. So on Dan. Yeah. Yep. So Dan Fleming, solid 106.66 pounds.
Yeah.
That's huge too. I mean, even if you disregard the other number, that's gigantic. You know, 106 pounds on the wrist wrench. Anybody doing that? That's, you know, a lot of good numbers really on here. Yeah, there's not much to not like here. From 10th place on up, everybody's upwards of 90. So these are pretty huge lifts. Yep. They are. So Yves Gravel with the 101.15, Jeff Slater 101.15, and Matt Smith. So three-way tie for fourth. Looks like we had a three-way tie for seventh. Rob McMurrin, Andrew Dube, and John Philippe. That was 95.64. Nick Carignan, 90.12 pounds. Let's see. Got Mark Lucina and Simon Pierre tied for 11th, 84.61. Gus Bush, 13th, 79.1 pounds. That was a three-way tie for 13th with Philippe Tremblay and Dion Keller. It's like 16th was Keith Stephenson, 73.59. Two-way tie at 17th, Rick Blanchard and Mike Dryman, 68.08 pounds, and then Natasha Batt, 46.03 pounds. That sounds like a good wrist wrench. I don't know that I've seen a lot of women pulling on the wrist wrench, but that actually seems like a really good number from the ones that I had.
Yeah. Actually, it's funny that you say that because yesterday, one of the guys that came by, Wayne Taylor, his girlfriend or wife, I don't know, I can't remember now. Oh geez, I'm gonna sound like an idiot. Anyway, she went to pull on the wrist wrench and was like, geez, what is this thing? You know what I mean? Like it's something that it takes some getting used to, and you know, especially for smaller handed folks anatomically. So yeah. But yeah, that's a good field right there, you know, on that wrist wrench. Those were some really good numbers.
Yeah, no doubt.
So what's next?
The next, looks like we've got the Dube Cube, coin lift.
The coin.
Yep, I have zero familiarity with this, but never personally pulled on it. I don't know if this is something like similar to one of David Horn's horn top implements, with like that key pinch type thing he has there. So, judging by the previous lifts on everything else, I've got to think some of these numbers are pretty solid. It's like Eric Rusin at first with. Yeah. I really don't either, but it's it seems like there was some real consistency here, though. You know, Eric Rusin on top, 35.45 pounds. It's like Mark Lucina in second with 33.25. So they made some lower jumps on this one by the looks of it.
Yeah.
I guess you'd have to on that one. That's going to be a really finicky one.
That. Sure.
Yves Gravel, 31.04. That was third. Fourth place was Rob McMurrin and Nick Carignan, 28.84 pounds. Dan Fleming and Jeff Slater at sixth with 26.63. So there was, Dan Fleming has always done really good, I think, with some of those type events too. So
those little pinchy events.
I gotta think. So those are pretty good. So Justin Major, Gus Bush, and Rick Blanchard, all tied. See, at eighth for 24.43 pounds. I think we might have missed Jeff Slater. No, we got him.
Yeah, Jeff was at 26.63. Yeah.
Yep. In a big tie at 11th place, Andrew Dube, Simon Pierre, Keith Stephenson, and Mike Dryman, all with 22.22 pounds. And Matt Smith, Jean-Philippe, and Philippe Tremblay, all at 15 with 17.81. And Dion Keller and Natasha Batt at 18th with 15.61 pounds.
Yeah, that would have been. I would have been battling them for 18th. I can tell you that much. On that kind of list. Yeah,
that's not mine by any stretch of the imagination either. I find those things kind of uncomfortable. Yeah. But it's cool for the people that do them. There's no doubt about it. But I got burned by that stub once, and that was enough for me.
I think I tried it one time at Bob's, because Bob's got like all the different horn top implements and like the David Horn implements, and I tried it one time and I was like, this is ridiculous.
It hurts like hell. There's no two ways about it.
What are we doing here? Like, really, what are we doing here? Yeah. So that was the end of that. Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Those hub numbers are something impressive, huh?
Yeah. Yep.
I mean,
had a solid turnout there.
Yeah,
Yep.
Gosh, I mean, how many guys did we have over 60 pounds on the hub?
Oh yeah, it was the majority of the field, really.
Yeah, that's
what, 10, 12, something like that. Yep, yeah. That's gigantic. Well, I remember, I mean, it seemed like it was just a few years back, that anything upwards of 50, 55 was pretty solid stuff, and now we're seeing people getting way up there on a regular basis.
Yeah, I was just about to say, now we're seeing like everybody over, half of the field here over 60 pounds. So
yeah, yep, yeah, that's nice. The hub is a lift. That's something I do personally really like. I know. I don't know if you'd mentioned. Are you a fan of the hub or not?
Well, here's the thing. It's like I love hub lifting plates. I really do enjoy that. Like I love doing like different feats with the plates and stuff like that. But I'm not a huge fan of the hubs. I do. I've pulled 60 pounds on them before, but that was. It's just sort of like I kind of worked up to it a little bit, and I would do it at the end of training. But I'm not as into it as, say, like Scott Johnson, who trains with us, who, consistently pulls, in the 70s, and guys like Bob, who consistently pull in the 70s. So,
Oh, nice.
But,
nice.
Yeah, I never got into it. I just was sort of like, my initial goal was I want to see if I can, hub at least 45 pounds on it, and then I did, and then just sort of by virtue of the fact that I was training other grip implements, my hub got stronger. So I can usually go up to it and pull somewhere in the 50s.
Sure.
Yeah.
For me, the hub type lift was always something that was a tool to getting me towards actually being able to hub a plate, a 45-pound plate.
Yeah.
And once I got there, I just didn't see much use for training with the actual, like, the Iron Mine hub or a horn top or anything like that. But The one thing that I noticed, though, in just actually hubbing a plate and throwing some plates on it here and there, it has absolutely elevated those numbers.
Oh, yeah.
So it's definitely worked that way. Hell,
Definitely.
I'm not sure how the payover will be towards the the really, really shallow stuff, but at least on the iron mine hub, it had always made that go up.
Yeah, yeah. And for me, what I think what it might have helped is like doing the different feats with plates, like doing like cleans and presses with them, and doing transfers, or even just lifting the plate and swinging it a little bit from the hub. I think that has helped too with increasing the iron mine hub number. And this is coming from somebody who doesn't train it specifically. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah,
certainly I think doing those different things has helped increase my hub number, so that like the last time I trained with it, I pulled like 60 on it. So
yeah, yep. No, I'm definitely with you on the using the plates more so. That's exciting, and doing those things, those are fun. You're not going to really be like cleaning something with an iron mine hub, it turned into more like a mace, Yep.
Yeah, and one of the things that I think too that I noticed was like just doing different hub feats at Soaring X Summer Strong a couple of years ago. Like people who had never seen hub feats were looking at it like, whoa, that's pretty interesting. You know what I mean? Like wow, how do you do that kind of thing? It's got some visual impact to it. Whereas if you just pull out an iron mine hub and you load it up to 45 pounds, people are going to be like, what are those guys doing? You know what I mean?
Well, right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not that you're doing it for people, but it's just sort of like, I don't know. I think it's kind of cool to be able to do the different feats with a 45-pound hub. I know the first time I ever saw someone doing it was actually when I was at Aaron Corcoran's house, I guess about 4 years ago, and he was doing all kinds of feats with a 45-pound plate by the hub, like flipping it and catching it.
I've seen that.
Passing it back and forth, and throwing it overhead kind of thing.
Well, yeah, you'll see them launch them off the ground. They practically land in a different zip code. He flips them so hard, it's absolutely hilarious. Yeah, just amazing.
Yeah, and seeing that's kind of cool. So I don't hate on the hub. I think it's a pretty it's a pretty useful tool. I think it's a pretty cool implement, and I definitely respect the big lifts on it. So.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it.
Guys up near 100 pounds, and I love watching some of James Fuller's videos with the hub too. He does some great hub stuff.
Oh yeah, yep.
But so yeah, what other events did we have? We had the overall, right? That is that the medley and the overall? I guess would be it.
Yeah, yep. And I'm not sure. I didn't see what items he had in the medley, but it looks like Eric Rusin got first, 39 out of 40 items. I would imagine there's some anvils in there. I think Eric's generally a pretty good anvil lifter guy.
Yeah. We did have Silver Bullet too, though.
Oh yeah.
Forget about that. Yeah.
That one gets skipped by. Let's see here. Let me get back.
Yeah, we overlooked Silver Bullet.
Okay.
My bad.
Better hit that one then. Yep. So Eric Rusin first used a 3.5 at 16.38 seconds. Well, he crushed the competition here.
He did, yeah, by 12 seconds. Yep.
Right at second place behind him, was Justin Major, also a 3.5 at 4.21. Dan Fleming, 3.5 with a 3.53 second hold.
Yeah, those guys
and then Andrew Dube.
Major, Fleming, and Andrew. Yeah.
Yep. Andrew Dube hung right in there, 2 3/4 seconds. And it looks like it was a 3. Okay, so he allowed a bunch of different options, kind of like what Jedd was just doing in his competition by the looks of it here.
Yeah.
So it looks like in fifth place we had a number Nick Carignan, a number 3 for 16.53 seconds. 6 was Mark Lucina, number 3, 10.71 seconds. Rob McMurrin in 7th, also number 3, 8.78. Philippe Tremblay, number 3, 3.66. Then Yves Gravel, number 3, with 2.62. So looks like a bit of a difference there in some crushing strength versus some of the thick bar numbers we'd seen earlier.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. Jeff Slater in 10th at 2.5 for 15.25 seconds. I think it's great nowadays that we're able to do this with the silver bullet dropping down to the other grippers so people can actually, it opens the field. It allows more people to be able to compete. Otherwise, there's so many people that just can't be set in the 4s and the 3.5s and the 3s, you know.
And post the time, yeah.
Yeah. So, Rick Blanchard, 11th, 15.13 seconds. Mike Dryman, 12th, 14.06. Dion Keller, 13th, 10.53 seconds. Simon Pierre, 14th, 5.5 seconds. Looks like we're dropping down to a number 2, starting at 5th place. Matt Smith, 10.68 seconds, followed by Keith Stephenson at 16th with 4.78 seconds. And then Jean-Philippe in 17th with 2 seconds. Looks like in 18th, Gus Bush with 1.5 for 18.4 seconds. And then at 19th, Natasha Batt with a 0.5, 13.32 seconds. So,
all right.
Good numbers. Lots of good. Yeah, yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
Eric,
yep, good turnout there.
Yep.
Oh yeah, yep. I hadn't seen if he'd done any silver bullet attempts with a 4 in the past or not. So,
yeah.
But awesome. Yep. It looks like the days of just the silver bullet holds with the number 3 are pretty much past us now. Everybody's moving on to those bigger ones. So.
Yeah. I was looking at the numbers and I saw where Nick had 16.53 seconds, and I'm thinking he's probably kicking himself for not taking an attempt at that 3.5.
Yeah, right. Yep. Yeah, I wonder how that was run, if you get to take a crack at the one first and get to drop down, or how that was laid out. So I didn't get to follow along. Eric usually, he's got a lot of good information posted about his stuff, I think on either Facebook or the grip board, how his layout was. I had just missed some of that.
Yeah. So you want me to take the medley so you don't have to keep missing things? Okay.
Yep, let's go for it.
So in the medley, as mentioned previously, Eric ended up with 39 items out of the 40, which is pretty amazing. Justin Major had 36. He was in second place. Three-way tie at third between Yves Gravel, Dan Fleming, and Nick Carignan with 34 items. In sixth place, you had Rob McMurrin with 32 items. Seventh place, Andrew Dubé with 28 items. You had Mark Lucina with 26 items. Jean-Philippe Poitras with 24 items. In ninth. In 10th place, you had Philippe Tremblay with 20 items, and a tie at 11th between Simon Pierre Descharlet and Dion Keller with 18 items. In 13th, you had Gus Bush with 16 items. In 14th, Mike Dryman with 15 items. In 15th, Keith Stephenson with 10 items. In 16th, you had Matt Smith with 8 items. And it looks like Jeff Slater and Rick Blanchard did not finish or did not participate. And then in the 20-item medley for women, you had just Natasha Batt, and it says she didn't finish as well. So that is our medley.
Yep. Nice. Yeah, looked like a good event there.
Yeah. You want to go over the entire overall, or you just want to just talk about the winner?
Yeah, I might as well just cover the winner, I guess. So.
Okay, so the winner, kind of as expected, was Eric Roussin. So, great job, Eric. I'm sure Eric had plenty of other stuff to do on the day as well, along with winning the competition and having to participate. I'm sure he had a lot to do with all of the organizational stuff. So good for Eric. I'm sure it was quite a day for him.
Yep. Congratulations, Eric. What was that? I thought he had posted. Was this like his 5th straight overall win or something like that? I can't even remember. I saw that come through on Facebook, and
I did not see that, but it would not surprise me. So.
Nope.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep, Eric. It's funny because it's cool to see Eric doing this, because I mean I've known Eric a long time from arm wrestling. You know, I think the first time we ever really met I want to say would have been at the Can-Ams in like the early 2000s. And the Can-Ams is the Canadian American Championship of Arm Wrestling. And it was always in Taunton, Massachusetts. And it was a great event, and you always had a very good group of Canadians who came down to pull. So, and Eric was one of them. So it was really cool.
Did you ever have a chance to grip up with Eric?
Yes, actually. You know what's interesting? Eric and I pulled we pulled each other in a tournament. It was at the, oh gosh, I want to say it was like 2005. There was this event in Vermont that was great. I mean, it was great because it got a huge amount of competitors, and it used to be held on a Friday night. And I'm trying to think of what the heck the name of it was. But it was this festival in Vermont. And you would get like 20 guys in a weight class. And it would be a mix of guys who were just like guys who came down from the mountains that, wanted to arm wrestle to like, guys who have been pretty high-level competitors from the U.S. and Canada. So, the northeastern U.S. and mainly, the guys from sort of the Quebec and Ontario regions of Canada. And I want to say Eric and I were in the top 2 at 205 in the 205-pound weight class, and I had won the 231-pound weight class. And Eric had beaten me twice in the finals. Pretty decent hook matches, but he had won the weight class and beat me twice in the finals. So he took the 205 and I took the 201. But it was a heck of a weight class. It was a heck of a day. And some really great pullers showed up. And yes, I think that was the only time Eric and I ever pulled in tournaments, because I'm positive we've been in weight classes together at events. But I think that's the only time we ever pulled at a tournament, if my memory serves me correctly. Eric might know better than me.
Sure. Well, boy, you would have just been a kid back then, still in your 20s, technically.
Yeah.
Those were the days.
It's been more than half my life, so yeah.
Yeah.
I was young, that's for sure. Addison County Festival, it was called. The Addison County Festival. Thank you for jogging my memory there, Alan.
Well, I've always been curious about some of these things. If how that's worked out, you being, you do arm wrestling, you got Luke Raymond, Eric. There's a number of these guys that are, grip guys that also arm wrestled and vice versa. I'm just curious if they've ever actually met up on the table through the years. It's something I've always wondered about. And how that went down. So
it's funny because like the first time Rob Vigent and I pulled was in 2004. And Rob Vigent and I were in the finals of the Nationals in 2008 in Salt Lake City. And Rob is, his grip stuff is legendary, his feats. I mean, I don't know if you were around when Rob was doing grip stuff, but I mean, some of the stuff that he was on the grip board is monkey paws, I want to say, or something. Jedd might know better in terms of his
I didn't remember his name, but I had seen that he was at one point a few rungs up on the Mass Monster ladder, if I'm not mistaken. And I knew he definitely did some grip stuff. I didn't know how far he had ever gone with any of it, but definitely knew he was out there.
Well, a lot of people say before he left, he was like at the very top. So.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah. Yep. His hand strength is phenomenal. I mean, he's just his hand is so big though; it's like gigantic. And what's crazy is, in the past at least, gripping up with it, I always felt comfortable gripping up with him, and it's because I always felt comfortable with guys who would grab low on me, and he was one of those guys who would grab low and try to hook me. So it's almost like he gave me his bottom two fingers were kind of a leverage point that I could pull off of to post. So.
Oh, sure.
But yeah, we pulled in the Nationals in 2008, so now we're going back 10 years. Oh, man, Alan, what is going on with this time? Why does it go by so quickly?
Tell me about it. Yeah.
But there's a lot of guys that I see some of the names like Rick and Dan Fleming is arm wrestled, Jeff Slater, Gus Bush, just from this event, a lot of these guys have arm wrestled. So, and some of them have a history in arm wrestling before grip, like Eric. So, yeah, I think that would be a great show altogether, just to talk about some of that stuff. Because there's been
absolutely.
There's so much really interesting crossover between the guys in grip and arm wrestling, and on both coasts too. So.
Yeah. Yep. And no, there's a bunch of other people. I mean, like Tommy Jennings, for example. I think I know he's done some arm wrestling here and there, and I don't know if he came from arm wrestling or then started dabbling in grip, or if it was vice versa. But nonetheless,
vice versa.
Okay. Okay. All right.
When I went out to Dallas with my wife, and the guys, I was getting together with Robert and Jedd while I was out there, because Robert and I were going to do some bending and stuff like that, and then the guys had invited me maybe a half hour outside of Dallas to go arm wrestle, and I thought it was just going to be an arm wrestling practice, and Tanner Merkel showed up. He was there. Tommy Jennings was there. So, you had some guys who were certainly grip guys who were also there to arm wrestle. And I want to say both of those guys started arm wrestling after they did grip. But I'm sure Tommy, would be able to listen to this and tell us either way. So. Sure.
Yeah. Well, hopefully he chimes in. So I'd be curious how Tanner Merkel would do on the arm wrestling table.
Yeah, people have asked me about Tanner and about Adam Glass. They've said, they think that Tanner and Adam Glass would be great.
They've got the tools. Yeah.
I
mean, I think it's there.
We've got guys who are, have been arm wrestling for 10 plus years, who are now trying to, get their way into grip, like Chris Chandler and Derek Smith from out in California. Those guys, super strong arm wrestlers with amazing grip strength, and they're just starting to get into the grip world. So it'd be interesting to see what those guys do too.
Yeah, it seems like one definitely lays the foundation for the other when it comes to that.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. It's just once it's there, it's just the technique more or less that carries you over to the other one. So,
yep. It's the technique and learning the coordination of putting all of the different muscle groups together.
Yeah.
And once you have that, it's like if you have a powerful hand and wrist and you have good technique, you're gonna win against 95% of guys who compete in open class arm wrestling. So
right.
Yeah. So that's why you see a guy like a Luke Raymond and a Rob Vigent come over to arm wrestling from grip, and within a couple of years they're competitive at a fairly elite level. So
sure. Yep. Well, and Tanner and Tommy, they've that arm wrestling table's come out at some point. They're messing around with that. We just haven't seen the videos.
Yeah. Well, when I was out there, everybody wanted to see me grip up with Robbie Burnett, who is one of their better. He's probably the best super heavyweight in Texas. I mean, everybody wanted to see me grip up with him, and Robbie had a super match coming up. So we gripped up and we pulled a little bit, but not much. And then, I gripped up a lot with a super heavyweight out that way named Brian Sitton, who you might know. Do you know that name?
Oh, what was that name?
Brian Sitton, Sitton.
No, I'm not familiar with that.
Oh, okay, because he's kind of made a splash in the arm wrestling world in the last couple of years, but he's also got like a phenomenal grip strength and wrist strength and arm strength. He's like I don't have his Instagram offhand, but if you check it out, that's a super strong guy. Well, he and I had some wars on the table at practice that day, so I got pretty worn out. But I remember pulling a little bit with Michael Hahn, and there's another guy who crosses over from grip to arm wrestling, and I want to say I pulled with Tanner a little bit, but I don't remember it. I don't remember pulling with Tanner or Tommy because they were doing a lot of horseshoe bending with Robert and Jedd and stuff. So.
Oh, okay.
it was a really fun day. It was a really great training. So
Yeah.
it was very hospitable of those guys to have me out there. So that was cool.
Sure.
But yeah,
sure.
I think that would be a great whole other show if we talked arm wrestling and grip. I think that'd be interesting.
Yeah, yep. We had mentioned that one time. So, yeah, hopefully that comes around.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that.
So, hey, did you want to talk some feats?
Yeah. What did you see in this week?
Well, I saw a few things. Like, I know Gil had pulled Blobzilla left-handed,
Yes.
which was his first of that. And that was a little over, I think it was slightly over 64 pounds, did he say? And it was
that would sound right.
And the Blobzilla is what, the 130-pound legacy one?
Yep, that's correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, he pulled that left-handed. So congrats to Gil Goodwin, Gil Goodman for that. You have any feats you want to mention there, Alan?
I thought I saw we had somebody new join the Mash Monster list this week here. Let me try to get down to that.
Okay.
It didn't pop up, and I thought somebody just made MM1. I'm trying to find that here. I want to make sure this guy gets some.
Okay.
Yes, newest Mash Monster level 1, Ivan Tikhonov. Something that was posted on looks like February 18th. So huge congrats. And that was as far as things go there, that it looks like, yeah, I think that was the biggest news from the grip board anyway that I had seen.
Okay. Did you happen to see Brian Hunsacker's 521-pound one-handed each hand deadlift?
No, I missed that. That's huge.
Yeah. He did it on the Rogue Fitness Farmer's Walk handles. But he said that they're really tough. He said it's got very little to no knurling or something on them. And he managed to pull that with both hands. So Brian is continuing to do ungodly things.
Yeah, he has a lot of stuff like that. I'm just looking at his. Looks like he did a hex bar pick with 959 pounds on that thing. So
yeah,
that's huge. Yeah. Really strong support grip there.
Oh, unbelievable. Yeah. So yesterday, I don't know if you've ever seen Adam Junker's adjustable pinch device.
I think I have, actually. I don't know that I'd seen anybody using it, but I'd seen some pictures that he'd posted.
Well, we had used it yesterday, and we were doing two-hand pinch in my house with it yesterday, and I topped out just over 200 pounds on it, and Bob kept going, so Bob Sundin ended up pulling I want to say it was 233 point something pounds on it, two-handed. So, and it was his first time touching the implement.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah. Crazy.
Right.
So then he picked it at a slight angle on the thumb, but Scott Johnson had shallow hubbed and curled a 45-pound plate, which was something I don't think I've ever seen anyone do on a shallow hub.
No, that's for some reason I missed that he did that. I could have swore, God, there was some other guy. I don't know if I saw it on Instagram. Might have done that recently. I can't remember what his name was. It's not something we see often, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I'm trying to. Yeah, I don't. I'm trying to see if I can find that. It was that guy. He just bought an inch dumbbell, I think, bought it through Jedd. I might be mistaken on that. We've talked about him a few times on the show, though. Does some grip out of kind of a really small space, it looks like, what I'd seen. That, or I could just be completely misremembering here. But
so it looks like Aaron Corcoran is also making a run at the hub world record, because he had just posted a hub lift of 90 pounds on his Instagram.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know that I follow him on Instagram. What's his What's he go by? Is it just Aaron Corcoran?
It's just Aaron Corcoran, yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna look that up quick.
Yeah.
90 pounds, huh?
Yeah, I spoke with Aaron recently. Actually, he's coming. Eric's up to some big things coming up real soon. So.
Oh, okay. So, all right. So he's got a rigid type mount on this here.
Oh, you watching
the one that I'm looking? Yeah. Yep. Trying to see this right now. Okay. Oh. Wow. That was easy.
Yeah.
Oh, that wasn't even hard for him.
I know. He looked like he had a couple more pounds in the tank, didn't he?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
So,
that was a really nice lift.
Yeah. Jason Otto pulled off his first 2 45s pinch lift with double 45s in both hands yesterday.
Oh,
so,
nice. Congratulations.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, so Jason's pinch is this certainly on the come up. Did you have any more feats?
No, I saw it in the spirit of what we were talking about with that Doob Cube. What was it? That coin lift. I just saw that Jerome Bloom actually had one on here. Let me see if I can get that back on. Where it looked like he hit just about 36 pounds. So based on what we were seeing, what Jerome did in relation to those, I think those were, in hindsight, some very strong lifts. You know, if you're seeing a guy like Jerome hitting 36, you know that these other ones are pretty solid. So.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. I mean, when I start seeing numbers like that, I start thinking, well, I wonder if Jerome Bloom could clean and press that. You know, little stub coin type lifts. Yeah. So I guess those are some big lifts from yesterday's competition at the top end. So, any more feats from you?
No, I think that's pretty much all I had seen recently. So I've been so swamped, it's been kind of hard for me to stay on top of some of these things. So this weather's made us real busy at work the past few weeks.
I bet.
But
I bet.
Yep.
Well, we're finally getting a little sunshine here, Alan. So it's been about 5 days since we've seen the sun, but it is out here, and I'm very much looking forward to going out into it today. I'll put it that way.
Oh, I can imagine. We can't get a break. Every time it stops snowing, it starts again. We just got hit with a, big ice and snowstorm last night. It wound up having to cancel my daughter's birthday party that was scheduled.
Oh.
And, yeah, it makes things just a pain in the ass, But we're not just getting hit with like a half inch here and there. It's constant dose of like 6 to 9 inches, So it has been absolutely miserable. Weather this has been the worst winter that I can remember in a long time. Lots of school cancellations and everything.
Had it real cold here, but we've had like a whole bunch of rain. So, yeah, it's like subtropical all of a sudden here. Not warm enough to be subtropical, but just in terms of the moisture. So,
yeah,
you got to move south, Alan. Move to Charlotte. It's a good place to live.
I know. I tell you, I've been telling my wife, I'd really like to pack it up and go, and she'd always been kind of fighting me on it in the past. Well, this winter she's had her first taste in forever of having to operate the snowblower because I haven't been able to, and I think she'll come around after this one.
Yeah, well, that's what it took for me. It took for me like the coldest January on record in Connecticut, and then snow on April 15th for me to say that's it. We're not doing any more winters down here. I mean, up here.
Yep.
So
yeah. When I go back upstairs, I'll have to be clutching at my left shoulder. Try to milk this out a little bit longer. So.
There you go. Yeah. Hey, get her out there with that snowblower, Alan. That's it. There you go. Hold that shoulder. Make sure you got it in a brace. Really milk it for as long as you can, at least till the weather gets warm.
Right. Take advantage.
Yeah. So you want to wrap it up, Mr. Allen?
Yeah. Yep. Well, that is it for episode 87 of This Week in Grip, the Canadian Nationals recap. Hope everybody liked it. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Comment down below. Use the hashtag, and we should be back next week with another one. We'll talk to you later.